we are group 5, so today we introduce you the HR work. As I said before, our group have 5 members. First is Lang Nước Tâm, Lê Anh Trân, me, Phạm Lê Thu Hà, Nguyễn Phương Nguyên, and the last one is Đỗ Tuệ San. You give us 5 questions, so we will start with the question 1. The question 1 is, how does knowing the culture profiling tools such as Hosted or Championers help practitioners in their daily work? First, we will find out what is culture. Culture represents the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people in every country in the world, such as language or religions. Moreover, culture is shared language of a community, the holidays that are celebrated, and the religion that is practiced. First, we have ET host model profiling, including high-low context, slow-fast information speed, monochrome versus polychrome conception of times, and the last one is proxemics. Because we don't have much time, so we just introduce you high-low context and proxemics. First, low context cultures. Low context cultures is special interface used in Nordic American, such as Canada and UK. This expresses one's opinion and thoughts as clear, logical, and convenient as possible. People have low context culture, usually direct and straight communication. In contrast, we have high context culture. High context cultures. High context cultures. High context culture in countries like Vietnam, China, and Japan, is focused on messages that are not expressed in words, and people in this communication tend to communicate in circle and keep showing respect and concern for each other. Moreover, we have proxemics. Proxemics have 4 personal space. First is unlimited distance, is closer relationship or greater comfort between individuals. Second, we have personal distance. This physical distance at this level occurs between family members or close friends. Thirdly, we have social distance. This level of physical distance is often used with individuals who are acquaintances. Last one, we have public distance. This physical distance at this level is often used in public speaking situation. So we have example here is the inner relationship in US. The most work relationship begin in social space. As this relation develop and trust established, both parties can shorten the distance to private space. However, when one side invades the other private space too soon, maybe the relationship between them would be broken. Secondly, we have grid hostile sixth cultural dimension, including power distance, individualism versus collectivism, the masculinity versus femininity, uncertain avoidance, long versus short-term orientation, and the last one is injustice and restraint. I will talk about the individualism versus collections. Firstly, individualism is defined as a preference for loosenized social framework in which individuals are expected to take care of only themselves and their immediate families. The collectives represent a preference for a tiny night framework in society in which individuals can expect that relatives or members of a particular in-group to look after them in exchange for unquestioned loyalty. For example, the USA is considered as one of the most individualistic countries in the world. Last one, we have Fons Champagner 7 cultural dimension. I will just talk about the universalisms versus particularisms. Firstly, we have universalisms. People have this culture try to treat all cases the same, even if they involve friend or loved ones. And this is the focus is one more rules than relationship. Uh, for example, countries use culture is Canada, USA, UK, and Australia. However, we have particulums. This communication is relationship are more important than rules. You can bend the rules for family members, close friends, or important people. Such for example, particularly culture including Latin America, Korea, China, and Russia. So, the benefit of knowing control help practitioners in their daily work is, yeah, it's a lot of benefit, like respecting the difference between another, acknowledge the variety of different cultural background and expression, valuing what other culture have to offer, encourage diverse group to contribute to community, public discourage, and it's empowering people to achieve their maximum potential by being critical in their own bless. The last one is celebrate one another, rather just tolerating our difference. So that is about the question one. Next is longer term will describe about the question two.
Thank you. So my question is explain how leadership assists in making teams be effective. In order to answer the question, we have to review a little bit about the definition of leadership. Well, it's a complex and multidisciplinary concept which refers to the behavior as a process involved with organization and a group of people in order to achieve some common purpose or goal. So in order to make the team effective, a leader have to provide his team with a clear vision and a strategy, and motivate team member to using example. Like if he want to build a team of motivate, and he must be the example for that team. He must be hardworking and professional, and must embody and commitment and honesty and protect professionalism each day, and we will make everyone to set it as an example and follow him. And moreover, he have to manage the conflict quickly, because conflict happens from time to time in the workplace. Ignoring it will impact productivity of the whole team and affect communication and or create a negative atmosphere for many members of the staff. So for this reason, it is imperative to address an issue as soon as possible, which can prevent it from spilling out to our control. By doing so, you can help your emerge to more than argument, so that they can focus 100% on their attention on their job. And next, we will monitor process and direct the team to keep them on track. And even a company is struggling with a task or performing weakness, a good leader should organize a one-to-one session with them to address the issue. A casual conversation will not only help them to identify how they are struggling, but they could turn their weakness into a strength with the right level of coaching. And sit down and ask them how they why they are struggling with this project. So you as a leader can identify what they need and in order to complete it with ease. It could turn your poor performer into a strong business asset. And of course, because we are learning international business, I will talk about a global leader as well. And global leaders is on another level of the normal leaders. They must have the global strategic thinking, which means that they must have the adaptability to the different culture and the ability to establish business in many different countries. They need to a high level of cognitive complexity in order to collect and comprehend the contradictory data from variety of sources around the world in order to subsequently make them as an effective decisions. And moreover, the global leaders also have to have interpersonal skill as well. Excellent interpersonal skill will enable them to understand how to behave within a particular situation and give them the capacity to learn from experience and moral reasoning in order to comprehend some ethnic dilemmas. And finally, he can setting a team norm so that everyone in the team have something in common and in order to work more easier and achieve something together. And that's all about my question 2. Next will be question 3 will be presented by Dr. Sam.
So, in my question, it's to provide example and explain how diversity can help organization in their daily work. Next slide, please. So, we go to the definition. It's basically the diversity is a variety of differences between individual in an organization that you will see in many international business structure company. So diversity not basically include how individuals identify themselves, but also how others perceive them. Diversity within a group can encompass race, gender, ethnic group, age, religion, sexual orientation, citizen status, military service, and mental and physical condition, as well as other distinct difference between people. So I will introduce to you the four basic type of diversity in organization that I have seen the most in international company. Next slide, please. So the first thing is cultural diversity. This is basically have seen in every single company that belong to international and logistics. The second is age diversity. The third is sex and gender diversity, and the last one is racial diversity. So let's me take you a look closer to the cultural diversity. Next slide, please. So the cultural diversity, so how it will affect the organization in daily work, that we can see that employees from diverse background improve the organization with a creative new idea and perspective informed by the cultural experience. And the next will be the next slide, please. The age diversity that have seen in many structured company, and you must face it. That's the age diversity in workplace improve the overall performance of the company by offering variety of skill sets, building mentorship platform by hiring experienced and a worker that can have more experience and therefore reach more different type of customer effectively, and also different perspective from each view can drive innovation and therefore rise job satisfaction and reduce. Also, different perspective from each view can drive innovation and therefore rise job satisfaction and reduce employee turnover. And the third one, next slide please, is the gender diversity. That organization has a wider talent pool that will, because the employer will not give a woman a choice. So we will have wider talent pool and perspective. Gender diversity in workplace also enhance collaboration, improve staff retention, reputation, and recruitment for the organization. And the last one, next slide please, is racial diversity. Is a discriminate and fairness perspective in daily work, and two is to accept and legitimacy perspective in daily work, and the fourth and the last one is integration and learning perspective in daily work. So it's the end of our question. So next is a question 4 by
Okay, thank you. So my question is differentiate mercantilism, free trade, and the absolute advantage principle, and provide some contemporary examples. Next slide, please. So the first thing is mercantilism. Next, please. So mercantilism is an economic policy that is designed to maximize the exports and minimize the imports for an economy. It promotes imperialism and tariffs and subsidies on traded goods to achieve that goal. And Western European economic policies were greatly dominated by this theory. It states that a country's wealth depends on the balance of export minus import. In those days, gold was used for trading goods between countries. That export was treated as good as it helped in earning gold, whereas import was treated as bad as it led to the outflow of gold. If a nation has abundant gold, then it is considered to be a wealthy nation. If all the countries follow this policy, there may be conflicts, as no one would promote import. Next slide, please. So what is the impact of mercantilism on international business? So the theory of mercantilism believed in selfish trade, that is a one-way transaction, and ignored enhancing the world trade. Mercantilism was called as a zero-sum game, as only one country benefited from it. So next slide, please, is the example. Here I took the example from Donald Trump. So Donald Trump advocated expansionary fiscal policies such as tax cuts to help businesses. He argued that bilateral trade agreements that are between the two countries rather than multilateral agreements between many countries. These are all signs of economic nationalism and mercantilism. Next is about the Trump's immigration policies. So, back, please. Okay. Mercantilism opposes immigration because it takes jobs away from domestic workers, and these immigration policies follow this mindset. And also in 2018, Trump's mercantilist mindset contributed to his launch of a trade war against China, and Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese imports. Next slide, please. So next one we're going to talk about here is free trade. So what is free trade? Free trade is the unrestricted importing and exporting of goods and services between countries, and governments impose absolute no tariffs, taxes, or duties on imports or quotas on exports. So the impact of free trade on international business are, next slide, please. So the first is advantages. It stimulates economic growth. Even when limited restrictions like tariffs are applied, all countries involved tend to realize greater economic growth. Secondly, it increases foreign investment. When not faced with trade restrictions, foreign investors tend to pour money into local businesses, helping them expand and compete. The last one is it encourages technology transfer. So in addition to human expertise, domestic businesses gain access to the latest technologies developed by their multinational partners. And then we also have some disadvantages. So the first one, it encourages theft of intellectual property. Without the protection of patent laws, companies often have their innovations and new technologies stolen, forcing them to compete with lower priced domestically made fake products. It can also harm the environment. Emerging countries are few, if any environmental protection laws, since many free trade opportunities involve exporting of natural resources, often decimate local environments. And last but not least, it reduces revenues. Due to the high level of competition spurred by unrestricted free trade, the businesses involved ultimately suffer reduced revenues. So next slide, please, is the examples of free trade. Here I have some free trade areas name. So you can see from the map here, there are a lot, and I can name some of them here. Is EFTA, it includes European Free Trade Association, Iceland, Switzerland, and NAFTA, Pacific Alliance. So, and the next thing is the absolute advantage principle. Next slide, please. So what is this? Next slide, please. So in economics, the principle of absolute advantage refers to the ability of a party, an individual or firm or country to produce a good or service more efficiently than its competitors. So what are the effects of this principle? First, let's talk about the advantage. So having one nation focus all of its resources on creating one product benefits the whole planet. Why? Because the producing country receives the most value of its labor by selling that product to other countries and can import any goods that it needs. Now, but then there are also disadvantages too. Next slide, please. The theory relies on truly trade between nations. So in reality, this is rare as tariffs, quotas, and other factors add friction to trade between regions. Even if one nation can produce a product that at the lowest cost and than its neighbors, trade restrictions could make it more efficient for those other countries to make the product domestically. They may even intentionally apply tariffs to protect domestic businesses from other countries' advantage. Secondly, focusing all of the country's production on a single good is unrealistic and potentially dangerous. While a region may have an absolute advantage at manufacturing a product, if that product isn't in high demand, focusing all of its resources on making it is a bad idea. And then we also have some example about absolute advantage principle. Next slide, please. So a clear example of a nation with an absolute advantage is Saudi Arabia. The ease with which oil is extracted, which greatly reduces the cost of extraction, is absolute advantage over other nations. Other examples include Colombia and its climate, ideally suited to grow coffee, or Zambia, being blessed with some of the world's richest copper mines. For Saudi Arabia to try and grow coffee and Colombia to drill for oil would be an extremely costly and likely unproductive undertaking. So yeah, that's the end of question 4. So the next question will be presented by Phương Uyên.
Okay. My part is question 5 is how organizational design is relevant to innovative organizations, and I also give you some examples of this. The first one, I will go to through the definition of the organizational design and the innovation in organizations. Next slide, please. The organizational design is step-by-step methodology which identify the dysfunctional aspects of workflows, procedures, structures, and systems, and relies them to fit the current business goals, and then develops a plan to implement the new changes. The process focuses on improving both the technical and people side of the business. A well-designed organization ensures that the form of the organization match the purpose of strategy and meets the challenges posed by business realities and significantly increase the likelihood that the collective efforts of people will be successful. Next slide, please. The innovation in business is a continuous cycle of proactively seeking important new problems to solve, identifying new approach to solve the existing problems, and finding new ways to implement business building ideas. The Apple is a great example of an organization that effectively embraced innovation at multiple key points in its lifetime. In the 90s, for example, the company was on the verge of bankruptcy, but managed to stave it off by partnering with Microsoft, a company long seen as the enemy of Apple. This move effectively shaped the Apple's entire corporate philosophies and led to the introduction of the iMac, which was an overall turning point for the company and global technology market. However, this was only the beginning for Apple. The partnership with Microsoft kickstarted an era of innovative risk-taking, which led to the invention of tech products many consider staples of their lives today, including iPod, iPhones, MacBooks, Apple Watch, iPad, and more, alongside the invention of iTunes, which effectively reshaped the music industry as a whole. Innovation is a key driver for a firm's overall performance. And also, innovation has a key role in development of international business. Within an organization, innovation involves multiple actors transforming a firm's knowledge into a final market offering. The innovation can help your company's growth and keep your companies relevant and profitable. And moreover, it can help your organization differentiate themselves and its products from the competition, which can be particularly prevalent in an oversaturated industry or market. The next one is the focus point of this question is the relationship with the innovation and the organizational design. Next slide, please. The first features is good organizational design helps improve communication within the company so that it can increase the productivity and inspire innovation. It creates an environment where people can work effectively together. The second one is organizational design choice can develop distinct competitive advantage. As companies grow and the challenges in the external environment become more complex, business processes, structures, and systems that once work become barriers to efficiency. Therefore, they to look for the opportunities to adapt and develop competitive advantage. Therefore, organizational design creates the opportunity and a convenient environment for innovative ideas to be born and encourage the organization to move forward. Nowadays, the great change have taken place in the international trade market transaction, the emergence of the virtual markets, e-commerce through online virtual information exchange, opened up a new open multi-dimensional space in the market
break the traditional market to a certain geographical existence as premise condition. The global information network to link together into a unified big market promoted the formation of global market in the world economy. Therefore, the organization must redesign to adapt this movement. Organizational design creates the diversity in the workforce, which on accounts of difference in race, gender, and the place of the origin of workers. And it has an important impact on the organization's innovation by creating an environment where the outside the box ideas are heard. The organization structure should be designed in such manner so as to make the optimal use of talent of a diverse workforce with different cultural backgrounds. They should be encouraged to work together. Changes in characteristics of workers, such as an influx of immigrant workers and retirement of the current workforce, require effective planning in advance. Nowadays, the great change have taken place in traditional trade management main body, the emergence of the virtual corporation, the core technology of modern information and communication technology by individual companies have in their professional field. Many companies are connected to a company community network. Strategic alliance of multinational corporation is the main form of the virtual corporation. Find the resource and the alliance through a dynamic network combination of the open system workforce. The realization of virtual operation to vary from minute-to-minute economic competition environment and consumer demand for personalized diversified into development trend. And the next part, I will give you some example, some significant example of this relationship. Next slide, please. Through organizational innovation, the world's most innovative companies have largely created structures that remove structural barriers. They have established an innovation culture and improved their innovation capability. This is intended to promote both continuous improvement, for example, the process improvement and the incremental innovation, as well as the disruptive innovation and digitalization. Instead of trying to promote idea and innovations through tradition structures, they align their structure in such a way that ideas and innovations can prosper. Samsung first had to radically break with the classic South Korean hierarchical thinking before the company could change from a manufacturer of cheap goods to one of the most innovative companies in the world. And it is no coincidence that Fiat's success under the CEO Sergio, who died in 2018, began with the radical breakup of old hierarchy. And when it comes to avoiding bureaucracy and hierarchy, organizational innovation is driving innovation leadership. And the next example is about the Microsoft, the agility as an overriding principle, innovation culture of Microsoft. Anyone who enters Microsoft with a sales either has an interview or is a consultant. The casual style of the most visible characteristic of flexible hierarchies. Behind the simple philosophy, a company without hierarchies is more agile. Microsoft has learned from its own painful experience. With Windows Vista, the company had gotten lost in the complexity trap. Constant coordination had made development more and more complicated. Microsoft responded with organizational innovation. Already in 1999, the company was radically reorganized. Too much bureaucracy and too much departmental thinking had paralyzed the ability to innovate at that time. So that is the end of my part and the whole presentation. Thank you, teacher, for listening and giving us a chance to improve our score. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Goodbye.